So we've tried. So, of the many, many things that we have tried here on the farm, all of our adventures and things like that, beekeeping has been an abysmal failure for us. And it was due to us because we just didn't really know what we were doing. We read some books, watched some stuff online, figured we'd give it a go, got some bees, set them up, and both times that we did it, the bees seemed like they were doing really well. And then out of nowhere, they just left. Um, so before we tried this again, we decided, hey, why don't we get some knowledge from people who know what they're doing? And this way, maybe we can be a little more successful. So we signed up for a class out at Enterprise State College over in Enterprise, Alabama. Beautiful campus. You should check out their stuff and go see them. They had a beekeeping class taught by Richard Woodham. And Richard is one of the most knowledgeable people in the entire state regarding bees, biology, how they work, how to set things up, what to do for them. If there's a question about bees that Richard doesn't know, I think the only other person who probably could answer is God. But anyway, Richard's super smart, knows his stuff, and as part of this class, he offered the students, hey, if you would like for me to come out and check out your setup and give you some tips, let me know and I'll come out. So us being us, we took Richard up on it. Sure, come on out. So what's going to follow here is a bunch of us walking around and talking with Richard and him giving us some advice. So why are we putting this together? Mainly because some of y'all might be thinking about raising bees. My advice to you, if you're in the area and can, sign up for the beekeeping class out there at Enterprise State College and learn from Richard and the others. Because the other thing you're going to get out of this that we were introduced to an entire group of people, a culture around beekeeping. There's groups that meet. There's folks that really know what they're doing. Loads of people who want nothing more than to just help you in raising your bees. And taking this class brought us into that and gave us access to some resources we didn't even know existed. So anyway, if you can, sign up for the class. If you can't, watch this, and if you have any questions, pop them down here and we'll see if we could get Richard to come on here and answer them for you. So anyway, on with the show. Yeah, the long story short is we're trying to figure out a good spot to put our beehive, and we've done, like Angie said, we seem like we had it in a good spot over there, and then things just kind of went sideways. So we don't know if it's location or the base that it's put on, the type of hive that we have, which I'll show you when we get down to the barn.
So let me give y'all the textbook version of the perfect location.
Okay.
The bees, the worker bees, the foragers, if you will, they orient to the sun. They have 5 eyes, 3 on top and 2 in the front. And they orient to the sun, and then I've shared with y'all, they have the little
right.
metal particles and, the Earth's magnetic field and different, silhouettes and colors and stuff is how they navigate. And they see a lot in grayscale or black and white, but that's the sun is how they kind of set their GPS every day, if you will, and that's how they remember. So textbook is going to say you should face your bees to the east because the sun always comes up in the east. Textbook says that you should always have your windbreak on the north side because the north wind is always coldest, and so on and so forth. You do want to remember you should never put your beehive on the ground, and I'm just going to step through it, and that's because it'll make it too easy for the hive beetles to hatch and go into the ground and pupate and turn into a bug and fly right back in. So you want to lift it up and you want to keep it trim. Reason I keep emphasizing textbook, I know some very successful beekeepers that you can hardly find their hives. The weeds have grown up around them so much. So there is no absolute in beekeeping, and that's why I keep telling people your way is the only way to keep bees. When you come to my class, you're just looking for ideas. You're not looking for this is the absolute last authority in the world, and if we do this, it's all going to be perfect. It's to get ideas. That's why I encourage people to pick one horse to ride. Don't have a stable of horses. Today I'm going to go ride the Richard Woodham train, if you will, of the horse. And tomorrow I'm going to go ride the Lynn Hughes train or horse, et cetera, et cetera. That is, you're going to be totally confused. And then at night, I'm going to look at all these YouTube videos and I'm going to see what Bob Benny says and Randy Oliver says, and your head's going to explode basically. So you're learning a way, which needs to be turned into your way, and you need to follow that way until it doesn't work, and then you need to be learning from whoever the horse you're riding now, and okay, I know that you really want to look at the seasonal part of it. Who's the expert in this area? Who's the expert in that area? Who designed this? Who built this? And you learn for why they built it, because your job is to learn the biology, the behavior, the traits of the honeybee, so that you can, and you've got to learn what they do in nature. If you don't learn what they do in nature, then you don't know how to replicate it or ensure that you're providing that for them. Say you're not doing it for the bees, you're doing it to make the pest uncomfortable, so they won't want to stay in there. That's the reason.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and so, but anyway, the bigger problems that go wrong for beekeepers that you have to get sharper at is you allow to be too much space in there, and they can't manage it. So that is a major problem. You would rather have them, if you had to choose, you'd rather have them just packed in there versus I've got 2 frames of bees in a 10-frame box. Well, that ain't gonna work. I mean, sooner or later it's gonna catch you. They won't even be able to take care of the queen. 2 frames won't. So, and you have to remember, and these are the things I'm trying to challenge y'all to learn, is that when you buy a nucleus, there is a recipe to that nucleus. There's 5 frames. There's 3 pounds of bees. 3 pounds of bees, there's 3,500 bees in a pound approximately. So you have 10,500 bees in there taking care of 1 queen. There's almost 5 frames of them. If y'all will remember these things as you say, well, let's put another box on. Well, if the bees aren't going to fill it up, you've just created a storage space for the pest.
Right.
You've just created something to absorb some of the heat. They're going to eat more honey because they've got to shiver more. And it's just, you have to learn the recipe, but you don't learn Richard Woodham's recipe. You learn the bees' recipe. And instead of saying, well, why do they do that? I think I want them to do this. Forget that. It's, I need to know what they do. And because I have to be honest, out in nature, they're just fine without us. We just brought them from nature and put them in a dead box that has no life in it, has no roots in the ground, has all, it's not that thick like many of the trees are that they're inside of. So now, if you don't know what they're doing out there, you have a very small chance of keeping them alive or keeping them there. So y'all's job is to replicate nature and their behaviors, their biology, as close as you can, and that's where your chance lies for them to survive. Anything less than that lessens the chance of the survival.
Recipe for disaster.
It is.
So we run.
No. I would not put it, because I would put them in the most isolated place I could. That the only time they are interrupted is when you go there. I would not want people walking by there, riding by there. I mean, they're not going to go crazy, but they're very sensitive. And I'm not telling you it's bad for them to be around noise. I'm just telling you, when you have an option, you want to put them in an isolated place.
Wife has a question.
Yeah. Have you had anybody who puts like ducks or chickens or anything like in the area up underneath their bees to keep like the hive beetles and stuff at bay or gone?
Chickens, yes, and they're wonderful.
Okay.
Ducks, never had that discussion. But
Ducks are
chickens,
much more wonderful than chickens.
well, I wouldn't say much more wonderful they may be to human beings, but I don't know about them pecking the larvae out of the ground and eating it with their flat bills. The chickens are
yeah.
going to do that.
Yeah. This is the platform that we built. I kind of mowed a little bit around it, but it's sort of been neglected since our second failure.
Yeah, so this is where we've had both of our both of the ones that had any kind of success. As you can tell, it's, you know, some of the stuff is rotted, you know, now that it's been
a couple of years. Yeah.
Right, but
I'm just going to look, I know y'all already know, but just for me, I'm going to look at the directions here real quick. You know, just looking at this spot, there's absolutely nothing about this spot, because I have one friend that's got 2,500 hives, and he puts his bees out in a pine thicket. I can't tell you that the pines are causing a problem. The only thing I noticed is, why is some of that dead up there?
Oh, a lot of our pine trees.
probably pine beetles.
Well,
If you look at that tree in particular,
yeah,
the weight of it has caused it to fall. So that one's gonna fall this way here in a little while.
I mean,
And I
we would
would tell you,
probably move it over.
if I were looking, if like y'all didn't do bees, didn't want to, and y'all had said, hey Richard, you can come put your bees wherever you want to over here, I would have noticed that. I wouldn't have put the bees there just because there's something wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would stay away from anything wrong. I look right over there, look right, you know, in a perfect situation, textbook only, which is just a book. If y'all don't need this area, I'd put them right here.
Right out in the middle.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, if y'all want to put them out in the middle, that's fine. And I'd line them up east. Now, there is some science that says power lines cause problems.
Well, we can't put them under the power line.
Yeah, we'd have to take them over that way a little bit.
Okay.
But we can put them in the
So
field.
that would be good, because there is some studies that indicate that being under power line can interrupt their sense of navigation. I'm just,
That's interesting.
I can't
Yeah.
confirm or deny that.
No, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
us running the tractor out here or whatever, it's not going to really bug them that much.
No, but I would not run the tractor, like if you're the colony, I wouldn't run them right there.
Okay.
I would get, you know, 6, 8, 10 feet, because the bees have about a 6 foot takeoff, if you would. And so sometimes people in town put a 6 foot fly wall, that they call it, that they fly up, and it forces them to get up there instead of straight and wonder about the neighbors and stuff. But I'm not telling y'all to do that out here. That's in town where you're trying to force them up. But as long as you come out here a little bit and you cut on your tractor, they're unlikely. But now you always want to try to stay out of the front.
Okay.
In Auburn University, recently I was up there, they have actually now started turning the back to east and letting the bees go out that way. And they're doing it because they're putting it on borrowed land. And they say that the owner complained about when they cut the grass that the bees were flying out. Well, if you turn them the other way,
oh yeah, they'll be
it's
going.
fine.
Yeah.
They're going to go that way, and then they're going to orient with the sun and do what they do, and they're not going to be going and coming here. So I'm telling you, it'd be fine to turn them this way. Just think about all that stuff of when you're going to cut the grass and only have an area. Now, Auburn has actually got them pushed up within about 3 feet of the trees. And I asked the lady that manages 400 to 600 hives, why do y'all do that? She said, the bees will figure it out. I'm like, okay. They manage 400 to 600 hives. They're doing international research.
Yeah.
I cannot argue with them and say that, oh, well, that is wrong. But we do not cut the grass except out away from them without a bee suit or some kind of jacket,
Yeah.
or at least a veil. A veil's okay once you get okay, but the bees smell fear. So until you can go out there and not think about the bees, you should wear a jacket and a veil. Okay, so let's cover ants real quick. The first thing y'all need to remember is the reason the ants there is they're trying to get food for their babies,
Yes.
just like the bees are going out to the flowers to bring back to their babies, so to speak, and themselves. A strong colony is rarely going to have a problem with ant beds right up under it, because they're going to manage them, they're going the mandibles, they're going to pinch them, they're going to run them off, they're going to lay down stuff that's going to block them. The ants are not going to hang around a strong colony. Now, anything less than a small colony, they can do some, a strong colony, they can do some damage because there's too much for the bees to manage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what you've always got to remember. Strong colonies, boiling over with bees, and that type of stuff is what you're after. Because then they can manage the pest, whatever. You could have high varroa counts and have a strong colony, probably not going to be a problem. But as that colony dwindles down and the varroas go up because they're going to keep reproducing, that's how they take over. But you always want to keep strong colonies. You want to combine, even if you have to kill one queen and put two together to make strong, but you want to keep the boxes full of bees.
So when we put them out here in the field, we get our box built, ready to go. We come out here to put it on there. What base do I need, and how high does it need to be?
Okay, what I do.
Because obviously we screwed that one up.
No, I don't want you to think that. I really don't, because I don't remember if it's in this Monday night's class. It may be. It's getting started, and I think I showed y'all some in this last week one with the equipment. But to give you a specific, the cheapest way to do it is to get you some 12-inch blocks, to get you some 4x4 posts, and to put turn them flat on top of each other, have the holes, put the 4-foot post in, the 4x4 post in there, 2 of them. Now you always want them to be close enough that the hive is not flopping on it, it's
right.
well seated, but you don't want it hanging out, you want it up under there. You can screw them to them if you want to, but come out here and put a wood bar there to keep the 4x4s from turning.
Rolling, yeah.
Because somebody's going to hit something, turn something, and they're going to be in the ground, so just prevent that to start with. My original ones, whenever I started, I got 10-foot 2x6s. I dug holes, I cut 4x4s, I put them down. I went crazy. So today, I wouldn't dig any holes. I'd either put them in the blocks.
Yeah.
Don't put them on top of the blocks, because
They'll
somebody's
roll right
going
off.
to hit it and knock
Yeah.
them off. Put them through the holes and put them too high. But specifically, I like to put mine 24 inches high on the underside so I can get a lawnmower up under them real easy and weed eat. You don't want them that close, about 24 inches, and then put them whatever the length of the bottom board is, put them just close, because you'll have a little bit of room to move them closer together apart in the holes in the block.
Gotcha.
And that's the blocks that are this tall now.
Yeah.
Not the blocks, okay.
Right. Okay.
Leave 4 to 6 feet in between each one. Don't put them side by side.
That was what we were.
Now,
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and say this. Commercial beekeepers, they put them side by side. They put
yeah.
4 on a pallet. They got 2 facing this way and 2 facing that way, but they're in a different business.
Right.
They're in reproduction, go to pollination, get paid, reproduction.
Yep.
That's not what you're in. The honey business is not the premier business or prime business. It's just part of their business, where really yours is going to be more about the honey, if you will, or raising the bees. They're about having the number of colonies to charge the pollination and getting paid and getting some honey.
That was easy.
Yeah, that was easy.
Well,
Thanks for driving all the way out.
The longer you do it, the easier it gets. But it will never get easy until you accept that the bees are in charge. I'm just telling
Yeah.
you. You know, biology book is all you need to study now and basic stuff. But if you do not understand the biology, y'all are wasting your time and your money. But what you have to accept is every colony is not going to make it. And you just have, and instead of, you know, sitting down whining, complaining, oh my good, what is, we got to find out what happened and we got to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, you know, whining and crying and drowning in your tears.
Yeah.
Because the nature is brutal.
Yeah.
And you just, by putting them in a box, you just took some of the advantages of nature. So you're going to do worse than nature.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do better than nature.